the podcast that nobody's listening to. I'm Chris, and today I'm joined by Wes.
Hello.
And Nathan.
This doesn't sound scary, this sounds sexual.
I have spooky music playing. You guys can't hear it.
I was gonna say, I don't hear it. I just hear Chris and doing his best Marvin Gaye voice.
All right, well, we're done with the music
baby.
anyway.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to ruin it.
it's okay. I just wanted to do the
Way to
intro.
ruin it, Nate.
Whatever.
This isn't spooky. It's just so sexual.
Oh god.
I didn't hear any spooky music. Just sounds like Chris was trying to seduce me. Makes me worried a little bit.
So we're gonna continue with our Spooktober stories. I'm taking my glasses off now. Bothering the shit out of my face right now. So like I said, we're continuing with our Spooktober stuff. Telling stories. I have to find some. I'm not prepared for this one at all.
Well, I've got one up and ready. I mean, it's long as balls, but
Yeah, that's good. We'll start off with something that'll take up some time. So you may have noticed there wasn't an episode last week, and that's because I tied some knots, as they say. Or
he got married. In case you didn't get the drift,
yeah,
which made the whole him trying to seduce me a little bit more awkward.
Wes was we have cameras on. You can't see us because we just it'll take so much more time to render. Be happy you're getting a podcast. Anyway, Wes was just dancing, and nobody else could see him.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to what Wes was doing. Can I?
I'm not even sure if we can hear him right now.
Yeah. Who, Wes?
Yeah. Nope, can't hear him at all.
No, we can't hear you, Wes.
No audio from Wes.
For some
Okay.
reason I was muted. I don't know why. Sorry.
Bravo,
Anyway.
buddy. Bravo.
Nate, you've got a story, and I've got one loaded and ready to go as well.
All right,
Mine's long also.
All right, so I'll do mine first. All right, this one is called Strangled Red. By what it looks to be a Pokemon related one, like the Red game or whatever. All right.
Yeah.
There were tons of stories out there about hacked Pokemon games. Some of them really quite neat, such as the one about a version where you get a ghost as a starter. I'm gonna stop right there real quick. Sorry, I am sick as well, so my nose is all. Ugh. So if I go snort or whatever, yeah, 1 second. Okay, we're all right now. Sorry, I had to mute myself and do the whole snot clear thing. Yeah, all right. Some are ridiculous, silly stories about individuals dying after playing a game or the game talking to them. Why did my... God damn it, cat! My cat unplugged my... I got no visual. I've got no visual. My cat unplugged my monitor. God damn it. The fuck you, cat. Let's try this again.
Maybe you should hide your cords.
We'll do it, yeah. We'll do it live. All right, we'll start from the top. There are tons of stories out there about hacked Pokemon games, some of them really quite neat, such as the one about a version where you get a ghost as a starter. Some ridiculous, silly stories about individuals dying after playing a game, or the game talking to them. God, don't these writers know less? No less is more when it comes to these stories? Nah, well, I digress. I grew interested in these hacked games that are apparently in a thrift store on eBay or handed out by a homeless person to a random passerby. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting these creepy people. I merely found this particular cartridge in a trash bin when the garbage truck backed into my neighbor's dumpster. I noticed the game and asked the trash man if I could take it, and he didn't seem to mind. It was thrown away after all. I, of course, checked with my neighbor and confirmed if they actually didn't want it. They seemed perplexed, as if they've never seen it in their life. Their son made a grab for it, a little boy who saw the Charizard on the cover crying out, "Pokemon, I want mommy." But his mother told him no, seeing as I found it. He didn't even have a Game Boy anyway. He just liked Pokemon. Thinking more about it, not thinking nothing more, I simply went home, looking at the cartridge sticker in the way, just a plain old red version. The sticker was torn slightly across Charizard's neck, but that was expected with such an old game. I had a blue version as a kid, so I was a bit eager to see the bit minimal differences red version had. I was rather disappointed by what I saw when the title screen showed up. Pokemon Strangled Red version. Well, damn it, it was hacked. Hacks were neat and all, but they had zero monetary value. The original is quite valuable now, and I wanted to play Red anyway. Not this crap. Oh well, it was free, might as well try it. The name was odd, however. Strangled Red? That made no sense, not even in the morbid description of someone being asphyxiated, as people term blue when choking, not red. Who knows? Maybe there was a pair of these hacks and I got the red one. The more I thought about this, though, the more interested I became. My initial disappointment turned into curiosity. I wanted to know what this creator had made, and I was going to note everything I saw. The first oddity I noticed was the start screen had a Charizard next to the trainer instead of a Charmander. Also, the Pokemon never cycled through like the original versions did. It just stayed Charizard, even after 5 minutes of waiting. Shrugging, I hit start. Noticing there was no Charizard cry as I did, like there was supposed to be. I saw there was a continue option, so I figured I'd do what anyone would do in these do with used games and see what the previous owner had done. No. I blinked in surprise. No? What do you mean, no? The game wouldn't let me continue no matter what, though on the 4th attempt I heard Charizard's cry, quiet and barely audible. But there, shrugging off, I decided to just hit new game, like I would have done after checking the old file anyway. The screen cut to black for a while. No Professor Oak, no starting theme, just nothing at all. Eventually, the screen came back, showing a bedroom, 2 beds, 2 TVs, and a computer in the corner. My trainer sprite was the usual one, constant with the original red version. I was curious as to why it didn't ask my name, though that was answered when I opened the pause menu, noticing my trainer was named Steven. No, this isn't my real name or some stupid crap like that. This game isn't self-aware or haunted, at least not that I know of. It just had a name chosen already. Curious, I saw he had the starter amount of money, no badges. He didn't look like Red, though. His hair was longer, almost reaching halfway down his back. Red usual smile replaced with a confident smirk. Honestly, I found this sprite much more cooler than Red. Next, I checked out his Pokemon, a single Charmander level 5 named Miki. Nothing was odd about it, or should I say her. With the name and all, she had a beginning Charizard stats, only knew Scratch and Tail Whip, basic stuff. The game seemed relatively normal. Just look over and Chris has got this weird smile on his face. Returned to the game and walked about the room, noticing Steven's long hair was present on the back of my trainer sprite. When my back was turned to the camera, I didn't recognize the house, but I descended the stairs to see more. Downstairs was another trainer who spoke to me, and the instant I came down. Mike. This was his name. Ready yet? Yeah. I assumed this Mike was my rival. Pre-decided for me, a replacement for Blue most likely. Though I thought back to the bedroom having 2 beds, realizing that we weren't just rivals, they were brothers. We talked back and forth about basic Pokemon dialogue, become Pokemon Master, catch 'em all, stuff like that. But before having a little argument over which is better, Charmander Squirtle, which of course led to the introduction battle, the 1v versus Blue, in the lab, simple now, scratch, tackle, till I won purely for having the first turn. I took note of how much better Steven's sprite looked in combat than Red's. A different pose, his hair's looking like it was blowing in the wind, a brief, minor upgrade, but still much nicer. I took note of how much... I left the house after some more banter with my brother, stepping out to Pallet Town theme. Going to the east, I found this was indeed Pallet Town. The house was simply on the outskirts to the west. I know there was no mysterious grassy field like normal Pallet Town. Wandering about, decided to check on Red's home. Oh, that's one spot. There it goes. His mother was inside, and when I talked to her, she commented on how handsome Steven looked, hoping her son would look up to him as a role model for when he became a trainer himself next year, which of course led me to realize this game took place a year before the original Pokemon. Rose even upstairs playing his SNES in his room, commenting, "I'm going to be the best when it's my turn." I was starting to like Zack. It was interesting, a completely new adventure, a different character. Hell, Steven even seemed to have a history with people in this town, a reputation, a personality beyond a silent protagonist. The people in town talked to him as a person, making conversation, not just spouting tutorial crap. Even Blue's sister had new dialogue. They seemed to be in a relationship too, as the dialogue ended with a kiss and a heart over her head. Professor Oak simply wished me well, giving me a Pokédex to aid me on my adventure. He wasn't giving it to me to be the reason behind the adventure like every other Pokemon game out there. He gave it to me out of kindness, something to help me on the way, a gift. I was liking this more and more with each second. The game seemed to have an actual story now. I was somebody, not just a cookie-cutter protagonist anyone could be, not some blank sheet that could be replaced without notice. The story was different, though. The actual gameplay remained unchanged. I went north like I was supposed to. Went from town to town collecting badges, receiving the praise of the leaders. Steven's fame even seemed to spread as some NPCs would talk like they knew him. I used Mickey for every battle, and she was growing surprisingly fast. She handled Brock with ease, even pounded Misty with no trouble at all. That's dirty. She wasn't as adversely affected by super effective attacks as others. Did more damage than a regular Charmander. She was a veritable powerhouse. She became a Charizard at the mere level of 25. Not bad at all, I must say. Things started to get weird, though, as soon as I reached Lavender Town. I know. Lavender Town is the focus behind every creepy story and the like, but it was the only place that was noticeably different. There was no Team Rocket invasion, which I found odd, though I do remember there was a year in the past, so the invasion wouldn't occur until Red's time. I tried to enter Pokemon Tower, aiming to get a Ghastly, but that's when it got odd. Steven dialogue. I have no reason to be here. Steven wouldn't go into Pokemon Tower no matter what I did. This was weird. I mean, hell, there are a million places in Kanto you really have no need to be, like random houses with nothing but children NPCs, for example. Why was it here that Steven wouldn't enter? With a shrug, I figured I wouldn't need a Ghastly, seeing as Mickey could handle anything, so I simply went on my way. Lavender Town serving no purpose other than the passageway with a Poke Center. The game progressed normally from there, the remaining gyms fell, and eventually I made my way to the Elite Four and defeated them. As with Blue, my brother, Mike was there before me, initiating the championship battle, which Mickey swept with ease. The aftermath of the battle was quite pleasant. None of the tension that was preset with Red and Blue at the end of the match. Brothers congratulated each other on their progress and shook hands before the screen went white. No Hall of Fame, nor any credits. When the screen came back, it was at the house again, two brothers sitting at the computer, conversing with each other. Steven, I don't want to. Mike, come on, I've got to borrow her for a second to finish the Pokédex. The entry won't register unless she recognizes me as a master, just for a second. But she's my Miki. I promised to give her back. Come on, please. Yes or no? No. I was a bit perplexed, so I hit no to be cautious. Come on, please. No. Come on, please. I wish this would simply continue in a loop until I hit yes. So I did. Just to see what would happen. Alright, this will just take a sec, then both be Pokemon Masters. Steven, ... The screen changed with an animation shown when the two people trade Pokemon, which I found a bit weird, seeing as it was solo, but whatever. This was what was apparently supposed to happen. Mickey went first. I watched lazily as he began to travel down the tube. Snap. That made me jump. The sudden noise resonating in my silent room, loud due to the volume being way up. Looking at the screen, I noticed the game had seemed froze. Mickey's still in mid-trade. But the game wasn't doing anything. With a sigh, I just turned off the game, wondering when my last save was. When the game turned back up, I stared for a moment at the start screen. There was no Charizard next to the trainer. Upon pressing start, I saw the new game option was absent, leaving only continue. This was strange, to say the least. So I selected it. The game started without even showing my stats as usual. My jaw dropped when I was greeted with 1 year later. Lavender Town theme came first, playing its normal way. The screen slowly faded from blackness. Steven was in the Pokemon Tower, which made the music even stranger. Seeing as the tower had its own theme, he was standing in front of a tombstone, not doing anything, wondering what was going on. I pressed A. ... Confused, I tried walking, realizing I was indeed in control at the moment. I brought up the pause menu and checked my party. Mickey was gone. Not just Mickey, all Pokemon. He had nothing. Pokédex was absent from the menu. His bag was empty. Honestly concerned now, I checked his trainer card. He had no money, he had no badges. His playtime was 8,795 hours, which was impossible, as only logged 30 in before. But that wasn't the strangest part. His picture of the handsome, confident young trader was different. His eyes were blank, his face turned slightly down, the smirk that was gone replaced by a lack of expression at all. That long hair of his, before in perfect perm, was now messy and unkempt. I couldn't look at him anymore. Closing the menu, I went to move out of the tower, but with every step I took away from the tombstone, the screen flickered, like it did when Pokemon was poisoned. Gulping, I brought up the trainer card again. His picture was getting worse. Every step I took, he hung his head more and more. His shoulders slumped. He bent over. By the time I had exited the tower, he was on his knees, hand in his face, hair draped across them. I guess already what was going on, but This clinched it. I began to put some things together in my mind. I had always wondered why there was no champion in the original games besides your rival. Why is it you, the protagonist, had to beat your rival when he just waltzed in, no previous champion to challenge? Then it struck me. The answer was right there. The previous champion gave up. His precious Miki was apparently dead, and with her, she so died part of him. His Pokédex, the other Pokemon, his badges, his fame, all of it he threw away. In that year, the year that I missed, the year where all those hours came from, I even did the math, there's 8,765 hours in a year. Add that to the 30 from before, and it matched up. Even so, the game kept going. This should have been an ending, I thought. I mean, what else was there to do? I had no Pokédex, no Pokemon, not a thing. What was I supposed to be doing? I talked to everyone in town, but also similar things. Are you okay? Still mourning, I see. Everything will be alright. Please, is there anything we can do? Steven replied to them, and they all simply said the same things over and over. I couldn't put the game down now. This was all so strange. Curious, I headed off to the tall grass and eventually got into battle with a Rattata. No Pokemon was sent out, just Steven Sprout. I was wondering how'd I battle. Wild Rattata left you be. Pokemon battle ended without anyone or anything happening. This was clearly interesting. It happened with every Pokemon encounter. Wild Pidgey ignored you. Wild Ponytail wandered off. The music never changed either, no matter where I went. Lavender Town came from the speakers following me, sometimes slowed down a bit, sometimes not. I searched everywhere, every town, talked to everybody, wondering just what the hell I needed to do. My frustration was mixing with the depression atmospheres of all of this, making the experience altogether unnerving and uncomfortable. But I couldn't tear myself away. I was starting to get a bit angry, though. Nobody telling me anything besides giving me their condolences and trying to give me items like lemonade or coffee. Each went with, no. I slapped myself for idiocy, suddenly realizing how the likely answer was right from me. Pallet Town, of course. When I went there, which took a long time having to walk, no Pokemon to fly with, no bicycle to ride, and Steven only seemed to be moved half the regular movement speed, it wasn't much different. I first tried talking to Professor Oak. These things happen. You were just unlucky. Next I tried Blue's sister. Please, don't leave home again. Red's mom wouldn't even talk to me at all. With nowhere else in mind to go, I walked to west, finding the house from the beginning, which I never entered since leaving Pallet Town. Inside was Mike, but talking to him was just useless. Mike, I'm so sorry. I pondered for a minute. If this really was the ending, Steven doomed to do nothing but roam Kanto in misery, haunted by memories, forced to listen to everyone's concerns about him. At last, ditched effort to do anything. I went to the bedroom, walked over to the bed. Steven, I'm going to sleep. Screen faded to black for a moment, but then slowly faded back in. The world having a black tint to it. The Mike spirit lay on the other bed. I assumed this meant it was night. I'm going to do it. Do what? Again? I had no idea. Tried inspecting everything in the room. Nothing happened. As soon as I left the house in our dialogue, it can bring her back. It can do anything. What the hell was it? Something that could do anything. I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. Wandering about, I tried to leave Pallet Town the usual way. Steven, not that way. I wouldn't go any further. I tried the homes. Screw them. I kirked my eyebrow at that. Forgetting for a moment this was not a Pokemon, the vulgarity just caught me off guard. I continued to look around, but there was nowhere I could go until I accidentally stepped on the ocean, and Steven walked right in. Only the upper half of his sprite visible, like the swimmers you encounter in the Cerulean gym. I didn't know he could swim. The missing one. Missing one? I paused for a moment. No, he couldn't possibly mean that I hadn't tried the missing note trick on this hack yet, but it just fit too well. That had to be what he meant. I surfed all the way towards Cinnabar. I began to feel something was off. More so than this already was. Silence. Lavender Town theme stopped. There was no noise at all, nor were there any Pokemon. I just kept going, finding Cinnabar and surfing up and down these coasts. Lo and behold, Wild Missino appeared. Mine. Wild Missino was caught. What the hell? Steven didn't do anything. He just commanded that atrocity of broken data to join him. No, became his possession, and it did. I was getting more and more disturbed by all this. Checking the start menu, I saw Missino was not in my party, but instead an item. Making things even stranger, I checked the channel card as well. Steven had his back to me, his long hair draped behind him, his hand in his pockets, nothing else. Remember what he said at the start of the night. I realized what I had to do. I surfed the land and made my way northeast to, where else? Lavender Town. Along the way, I noticed all the trainers, oddly still out this hour. Wouldn't look at Steven, all of them turning away as he passed, even those that are normally static. I tried talking to one of the officer guardhouse type buildings. Just go. They all say the same thing, though one sent chills down my spine. Sometimes dead is best. My hands were sweating at this point. Stephen was about to try the impossible, something someone would see as a crime against nature, which many of these people share that opinion. I steeled myself. It's just a game, and I was going to complete it. It took an eternity to reach Pokemon Tower, but I got there eventually. Taking a deep breath, I headed towards the tombstone. I remembered which one. The image of Stephen standing there before it was burned into my crap cats. Sorry.
Again.
Boy.
Again. I just ruined the atmosphere. I'm trying to keep her out from underneath there. Okay.
No, your cat ruined it.
Yeah. It took an eternity to reach Pokemon Tower, but I got there eventually. Taking a deep breath, I headed towards the tombstone to remember which one. The image of Steven standing before it was burned into my mind after the first. First, I tried inspecting it. Mickey. Nothing happened. With a gulp, I opened the menu and selecting Mosquito from the bag. Stephen, don't use it. I was reminded of when Professor Oak would magically tell you that you couldn't use a key item somewhere, like when using a bicycle in a building. The message is what time different. Even worse, Stephen responded to it. Stephen, in a world that cheated me, who should I play fair? Stephen used it. ... Stephen obtained £@ money sign. What in God's name did I obtain? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you because the game took away my control. Without my input, Steven began to leave the tower on his own. Walking single step by single step, the Lavender Town theme started again as I left the tower and began his excruciatingly slow journey against my will. Every time I crossed one of those borders where the music would change, it got progressively slower, more and more disturbing. By the time he reached Cerulean City, it was a demonic rumbling. I just stared, watching him, trying to guess where he was going, but it was getting more and more obvious. He was heading to Pallet Town. The music had all but stopped when he was there, playing single note by single note. He went exactly where I'd guessed, right into his own house, inside, and up the stairs. At this point, there was no music. Stephen moved step by step, stopping his brother's bed, turning to face him. At first, I thought the game froze. He didn't do anything, simply stood there, and I couldn't move him. I did, however, find out I could open the pause menu. I was terrified to look, but I couldn't stop myself. I selected his trainer card. There was a low growl noise like a distorted Pokemon cry. Steven was looking at me again, directly at the screen. He was hunched over, his bangs obscuring his face. His hair was wild and feathered out. Between his bangs, there wasn't even a face at all, just black. Two red eyes looking straight forward, a white grin contrasting with the darkness. That wasn't all. His name was now SI3V3N. I couldn't look away, my eyes glued to his, not breaking contact for some time. My vision was getting blurry until I couldn't see very well. My face grew wet. I was crying like a baby. There was nothing I could do to hold back these tears. I was with this boy from the start. I built him up to greatness. I was enforced to watch his decline after a tragic accident, and now he was this abomination. I watched him go insane. Halting my tears, wiping my eyes, I closed out of the trainer card and tried to save the game, wanting to just quit. The game informed me this was impossible. Nothing can be saved now. The pause menu wouldn't close no matter what I did, so with no other option, I checked the bag. Nothing happened. I checked Pokemon. There was one. A single sprite met me. It has 0 HP. Its status dead, DED. Its name, M, @ money sign. I select it, and it was greeted with 4 options. Status, it's her. Switch, never. Close, no. Strangle. My fingers shaking, I selected strangle. The menu closed, showing Steven in the room again. Goodbye. Snap. The game shut itself off. I was more dumbfounded than frightened. It took a bit of shock. I turned it back on. The touchscreen showing the Maniac exclamation point 3v3N. And a horribly glitched Charizard. I pressed start, then continue. All I saw was a zoomed out version of Pallet Town showing Steven's home to the west, tall grass surrounding it. Those immovable stones blocking it from the rest of the town. The image was completely static. No music, no movement. Before fading to white, going back to the title screen, it was all it had been from when I first popped in it. A trainer, a Charizard. I attempted to hit continue. No. Why do people do this?
One of my favorite ones.
shit's weird, man. Like I got goosebumps from it, and I like it. It's cool, but like at the same time, it's like, what the hell?
Oh man.
You should try playing Lost Silver.
How about you go fuck yourself? How about that one?
Well,
Oh, by the way,
Don't count
I
it.
realized why you guys are hearing a popping noise. It's because, oh shit, because I don't have my pop filter on.
I saw you waving
what?
it around a little bit.
Yeah.
So, instead of doing it in post, I've actually been
Why you gotta
playing
wave
music
things
throughout the
around?
whole story.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
That's why I had that stupid smile on my face earlier.
I just looked over. It was just a shadow. I'm like, that's actually really fucking creepy. That was really creepy. I'm like, is he trying to add a little bit of ambience to me and freak me out a bit? Because if he is, he's working.
It's working.
Working. All right, there we go. All right. Yeah, that's like, I mean, I think it's really cool that people put a lot of time and a lot of effort into these, like fan-made uh, Pokemon games or even just games in general. I mean, some of them are really good. You know, like with the amount of time they put in and effort and data and just thought into it. And then some of them are just like, now you're just going for shock factor. Like that one. That one, he was like, okay, cool, it's hacked, whatever. Oh, neato, I got Charizard. Cool, it's the start of a new game, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets dark really quickly. And that's what I like most about it is that at first you don't
How
even
fast it got dark.
well, not how fast it got dark, that there was, well, yeah, well, that, but like the fact that it wasn't just dark right off the bat, that
Yeah.
it was,
It's a little
it
more
grew.
imaginative that it's not like I started the game and my sprite was dead. Like,
Shit, what happened?
yeah, it's just like, why am I looking at a ghost or some shit? You know, something like that. Like it was more, like you said, it was more imaginative, and I thought it was cool. Like even though it was kind of creepy, and my cat screwed up like 3 paragraphs left and did my stuff, which was a boner killer. But
just a little bit. So, give me just a second. I'll be right back. I
all
gotta
right,
go, make sure my dryer's not gonna go off in the middle of the friggin' podcast.
goodness gracious, he's kind of an asshole, isn't he, Wes? This Chris kid,
Yeah, a little bit, but he grows on you.
he grows.
He grows on you like a nutwort.
Again, don't make me laugh while I'm drinking.
Okay,
What
fine.
is this? Photographic memories.
Oh my god.
I grew up in the New Mexico and was always very into the outdoors, hiking, camping, rock climbing, etc. One summer when I was 19, I went on a 4-day, 3-night camping trip near my parents' house on my own. Might sound weird, but I had been in this area many times and it was quite safe. Anyway, I brought my camera and took lots of pictures. When I came back and developed my film, there were 3 extra pictures I didn't take of me sleeping, one each night. None of my stuff was missing or stolen. Nothing happened, but it freaked me the hell out. That's a thing, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like
is it?
it's, I guess this girl went camping for 4 days and 3 nights, and she took a bunch of pictures, which is nothing out of the ordinary. But there was,
Yeah. Women always take pictures. It's their thing. It's what they do.
hey, it's a photographer thing. You shut up.
That's not a woman thing at
I-
all. You misogynist.
I know it's not. I'm just
You
kidding.
misogynistic ass
I'm
hat.
just kidding.
But
Fine.
there was 3
I
extra.
like taking pictures.
There was 3 extra
like to see.
pictures, and they're all of her sleeping.
That's fucking weird, dude.
Yay.
Yeah, like I don't know, if
Yay.
someone just like sneak up like, you know, like
Creepy pictures.
yeah. Oh, jeez, Wes. Lose yourself
Still,
in the
though, that's
music
fucking
moment. You
shit.
own it, never let it go. Okay. I've got Tic Tacs.
So, Wes, if you're ready to tell your story, I mean, we can move on to that. That almost took half an hour. That was a long ass story.
I told you it was long, and I didn't want to rush through it because then it would have destroyed the ambience. But Nil already did that, so there goes Wes.
We lost Wes.
We lost Wes.
As soon as we get him back, we'll continue the stories. But until then, you'll have to excuse us. This was gonna be like all three of us in the same room sort of deal this week, but we are all Nate and I are sick and
Yeah, so
didn't want to.
I didn't want to get Wes sick or get anyone else worse, sicker. That's the word I'm looking for, sicker. So I didn't want to do all that, but excuse me, because originally we were supposed to go to a pumpkin patch, come here, do a podcast, and then do spoopy stuff.
We were gonna have a special Halloween video planned. We didn't have an exact plan of what it was gonna be, but
we never have an exact plan, though. Hey, Wes is back.
Yeah.
I don't know why I randomly dropped out. But anyway.
I don't know. We just said horrible things about you.
So,
I figured.
are you ready to start telling your story now?
Yes.
All right.
I was actually kind of getting sick reviewing like the whole thing because it's long as fuck.
Oh
And
man.
I've only read it twice.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna do mine quick because it's not nearly as
Just
long.
gotta let the page load real quick. My phone's being super slow.
That over. Both of my tabs open.
Go ahead while I'm waiting.
Yep, working on it.
Just look at the drive-by. I got one that's like not even a paragraph.
Okay, go ahead.
The drive-by. I found these on Jezebel.com. 10 spooky stories. Blah blah blah. We were camping once, driving through some city. My dad was driving, my mom on the passenger seat, and I was kneeling behind them, leaning on the boot that separated the truck from the camper. It was evening, not full dark. We weren't really talking, and my mom was looking out a window and she screams, "Oh God, oh my God, Gene, do you see it?" Dad says, "Yeah, I do. I'm going to slow down and let them by." He slowed the car, and on the right passes I could see inside, but the window was down, and the arm hanging out the window looked to be of that someone impossibly thin. I asked my mom what she saw, and she said it was nothing. My dad backed her up. Years later, I asked him about it again. Mom says it was a skeleton. It was no mask because you could see through the jaws. It had a tongue and eyes. It was death. My dad backed her up, but years later, and my mom was dead, recanted saying it was a mask because nothing could survive like that. What?
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
The fuck?
What? Mom said it was a skeleton. It was no mask because you could see through the jaw. It had tongue and eyes. It was so a car drove by and it had a skeleton in it, or it was death?
All right then.
What if the car was on the side of the road?
Mm-mm.
No.
It was behind them. That's why they saw it in the mirror, and then it drove by. The kid looked.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to slow
That's
down,
fucked up.
let them by. That's what the hell?
Right. I heard myself.
Oh,
myself again.
Wes is echoing.
Bad.
Wes? Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna do my story now.
Yeah.
Here we go. He had not expected to meet her, the woman of his dreams, but there she was, strolling along in the moonlight beside the cemetery. Carlos quickened his pace until he was level with her, hoping for a glimpse of her face under her veil. Carlos made a few remarks about the beautiful night, the lovely weather, anything to keep her talking. She stopped abruptly and turned to face him. He caught a glimpse of her dark eyes, glinting behind the veil. "What is it you want?" she asked. "A date, señorita. Just a date." Carlos beamed at her. She paused and said, "I do not know. Ask me again in this place at this time tomorrow night, and we shall see." Carlos's heart leapt in his chest. So she was playing hard to get. Well, fair enough. He would see her tomorrow, and then he would fall into his arms. The next day, dragged by for the infatuated Carlos. He had trouble concentrating on his work. But at last he was free and running the few blocks to his home to change into a suitable outfit. He could barely contain himself. He reached the cemetery a few minutes early. She was not there yet, so Carlos entertained himself by picturing his beautiful bride in their new home. Suddenly she was there in front of him. The moonlight sparkled off her veil. Carlos was so enchanted. They talked for hours, standing in front of the graveyard. She was as witty as she was beautiful, and Carlos begged her for a date. "We will go out tomorrow night," she said. "I will send you a letter with the place and time." Carlos kissed her hand and floated away. So happy he wanted to sing for joy. Carlos was absolutely useless at work the next day. After work, he rushed home and found a letter in his mailbox. Eagerly, he read it, not pausing to wonder how she knew where he lived. Then he ran next door to show it to Diego, his closest cousin. Diego went pale when he read her signature. Rosa Gonzalez. This must be the same Rosa that died in a car crash last year. Diego tried to warn Carlos, but Carlos was already in love. That night, as Carlos hurried to the cemetery, Diego followed, certain that his cousin was in over his head. Carlos bounded over to Rosa. "At last, we go out," he cried to her. "But first, my love, show me your face." At his words, Rosa pulled aside the veil. Back at the gate, Diego gave a gasp of shock, for she had the desiccated face of a skeleton. He was frozen to the spot by the power of the evil specter, unable to warn Carlos, looking down. Carlos only saw the glamour the ghost was projecting as the skeleton's withered arms wrapped around him. The veil on his eyes was lifted, and he realized in one heart-stopping moment the abomination he was kissing. The ground opened up, and with a laugh of triumph the specter pulled him down into her tomb. The earth closed over Carlos and Rosa. Diego, freed from the ghost spell, ran into the cemetery, shouting his cousin's name in terror. It was too late. Carlos was dead, locked for all time in Rosa.
Okay, 4 things with that. 1, start off by a cemetery. No, you don't meet the woman of your dreams by the cemetery, all right?
Right?
2, she had a veil. Obviously, she's a ghoulie. Come on, man. It blocks the face. Think about it. All right?
Oh,
3.
shit.
3 says,
We're
I
talking
don't know.
about grabbed by the ghoulies.
3, bitch sent you a letter where you don't know, like she doesn't know where you live. That's a red flag. You know, it's like, I don't know about this. And 4, the instant no, it's a cemetery. No.
So, this one I will not read because I used to be terrified of that as a kid.
Oh! If
What's
it
it
is,
called?
I'm gonna read it.
I hate your name.
Oh no, it's DS. Ooh. What's it called?
Your video's delayed, so I hear everything and then see it later.
Oh shit, Bloody Mary, quite contrary. Dear
Yeah,
God.
man.
I would rather not do that one either because I did that when I was younger at summer camp.
All right, where is it? Okay, here. Listen to this. This is weird. All right, ready? This is good.
Scary.
It's not a spooky. It is a spooky, scary, but it's like a poem. Ready?
Okay.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. She brought her lamb to school one day. The kids let out loud jeers. The children took her lamb away, and Mary choked on tears. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was red with blood. She took its little body home and swore she'd hurt them good. Mary knew that lamb's blood called things ancient, hidden, and deep. As Mary painted signs of old, never did she weep. Mary had a little lamb, and made her something scary. Now I dare you, look in the mirror and whisper, Bloody Mary.
No.
Just, no. Yeah, I remember seeing that. A friend of mine posted it on Facebook, and
Dear fucking God. Why
Mary
are
had a
fairy tales so fucking dark?
dude. No, think about it. All right, like everything we tell our kids. All right, Ring Around the Rosie, Black Plague.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the one where it's like Rockabye Baby on the treetop. Humpty Dumpty, even though that was about a cannon. The thing was still kind of creepy when you think about it, especially we put Humpty Dumpty as an egg. Kind of weird. A lot of the nursery rhymes are weird, and it's weird though because a lot of them are based on like I'm not sure if they're based on or if the Brothers Grimm kind of screwed with them, but
Yeah.
there's some really creepy ones out there. Like, ugh. Excuse me.
Good one.
Well, Wes, are you ready yet?
Okay. Well. Yes, I am. It loaded up like 5 minutes ago.
All right, go for it.
Anyway, in regards to, I referenced it in our last episode, and I just want to correct myself because in that one I said it was all about shit that went down in World War I. I'm going to correct myself because it is set in World War II. But to start off, it goes, Gateway of the Mind is a well-known creepypasta. A bunch of mad scientists attempting some unbelievably literal interpretation of a figure of speech. This experiment was performed promptly.
Time out. I think I know this one, and it's freaking creepy. Okay, continue. Sorry.
This experiment was performed promptly after World War II ended and seems to fit in with the long line of strange experiments performed by the Nazis during and or post-war. This is the basis for this page. War experiments. The Nazi reign was famous for its backdoor scientists and occult researchers. Special expeditionary divisions of the Reich were often sent out in search of artifacts or locations of occult or religious significance. Meanwhile, in Germany, bunkers were assembled and mansions and castles were fitted with labyrinths and dungeons which were filled with strange experiments and research notes. Whether the Allies found these places, they were outgunned, often gutted, burned, or otherwise destroyed and abandoned. Whenever a lab was found intact, the research was often incoherent or missing, or later destroyed by the Allies to prevent the Nazis from recovering any hidden data. A lot of the Nazi experiments were kept under the radar until recently. Veterans who served as guards to the labs and ritual zones have explained that they have seen war folders and books have been uncovered in boxes and crates belonging to the scientists. A fair few of these contain a common research goal: giving man the power of God. Exactly the true power is often up to debate, but it appears that this is often described in Nazi research as immortality, unable to die, invincibility, or other factors surrounding losing the capacity to die in some way or another. The larger part of this research was actually legitimately based. Certain doses of chemical compounds to aid blood flow in aging people. First concepts that are now used in today's transplant surgery, grafting, ointments that renewed skin, antibodies to various diseases, and fitness/dieting research. However, one set of crates discovered in Hamburg in 1999 went way off this research style. This stuff crossbred the occult experiments and immortality research. Mind is the disease. The introductory folders and proofs of concept of the research begin with the principle that the brain controls the body completely and wholly, and as the body slowly degrades around it, it continues to function. Further statements say that the reason the body is left to degrade is because the human brain is set on a biological timer. Such is why butterflies can only live a day, yet other insects can often last longer. The brain tells us to die. It is proposed that as the brain grows, it begins to make connections, resulting in the human becoming more mature and having an advancing brain. At the age of 35 to 50, however, these connections slowly break down, resulting in forgetfulness, dementia, and other mental diseases reserved for the elderly. The Nazi scientists proposed that the brain has a universal kill switch that activates as soon as the brain has fully developed. In all normal humans, this kill switch will initiate a shutdown sequence in bodily functions, which occurs over several decades. As soon as the body is fully shut down, the brain will be forced to die through lack of oxygenated blood. It is said that Werner's syndrome, a disease where the person ages rapidly, is a result of the kill switch function activating far too early. The Nazis proposed that they could remove the kill switch and give the human mind immortality, and from that, complete immortality. Needless to say, brain surgery was incredibly difficult during those times, but it was possible. In the stacks of folders, there were many different diagrams and past research on the brain, psychology, the human mind, and the like. The experiments were initially proposed to Nazi executives in 1940, and permission was granted to perform the experiments in 1942 under one condition. The experiments must be conducted outside of Germany. The German populace must not see this experiment in any way, shape, or form. It was no surprise to the scientists that the executives were paranoid about public relations, but the idea of performing the research outside of the fatherland was foreign in itself. Most experiments were performed in bunkers or basements. Regardless, the scientists complied and were able to organize a setup with their ally Japan. In late 1942, the research had begun. Here's where it gets strange. The research team had taken over a Japanese orphanage. The orphanage was in the hills, supposedly somewhere in Shimane, an area nearby Hiroshima. The scientists deduced that if they tried to take the usual test subjects, old or diseased people with nothing left to live for, similar in the fashion to Gateway of the Mind, they would be playing with the variable of disease, or, more importantly, they would be experimenting on a brain that has already had an activated kill switch, rendering it useless in the context of finding the solution. As a result, the Nazi scientists demanded that children, namely the orphans in the orphanage, which they deemed to again have nothing else to live for, would become test subjects. Their young brains eliminated any cause for concerns of an already activated kill switch. To begin the experiments, the children went through numerous immunizations and intense psychological testing to ensure that they would prevent any defects and keep a general benchmark for their subjects. Hold on. Next, they began with the older staff of the orphanage. Put under anesthetic, the surgeons opened up their skulls to find a good cross-section of an adult brain and begin to find key differences between it and a child's brain. After gaining a model of both, a child brain and an adult brain, the scientists deduced that the universal kill switch wasn't located in the brain, but the cerebellum. Located at the rear, the cerebellum commands all subconscious activity in the brain, which is understandable since it isn't a conscious action to set off the kill switch. Systematically, they took the tallest child in the orphanage and began to open her up. They were about to begin their first kill switchectomy. They had managed to open up the cerebellum and remove the part presumed to be the kill switch. However, upon closing the subject up, they found that she had expired. They assumed that the incisions on the brain had been too brash and required far more precision. The body was dumped in the forest behind the orphanage. After imports of different tools and different techniques developed, the scientists were finally able to remove the kill switch and successfully revive the patients. In May of 1943, they had taken one of the youngest girls in the orphanage and removed the kill switch. The only function she lost was the ability to sweat. After their assumed success, the scientists had celebrated, after which everyone went to sleep. The next morning, the girl did not wake up and was revealed to be comatose. After a while, she was revived successfully and the kill switchectomies continued. The initial success gave the doctors a new state of mind, one of refreshment. They were able to continue their experiments with the ease of mind that the theory was proven. Well, so they assumed. Before the doctors continued their removal research, they commissioned several doctors in from Moscow who were trained in the practice of bodily revival. Technically zombification, however, it relies on the principles of using electric shocks and artificial hearts to power the body back up. They stated the reason for this was that the original subject always became comatose or clinically dead whenever she went to sleep, and then revived herself in the morning. She had no signs of this behavior before the experiment, and despite the fact that she revived, the doctors did not want to risk a success turning into a failure. The Russian scientists were put to the task of bringing her back to life whenever she expired. After several days of this, the Nazis concluded that it was safe to continue. Project Venom was a Russian experiment to create super soldiers from the theory of Dr. Frankenstein. It may also form a basis for the Marvel superhero as well. As a repayment for the use of the Russian scientists, Russia had asked that they combine the research of Project Venom with the Nazis' ongoing experiments. Naturally, the Nazis agreed. However, the limited number of orphans was debilitating, as the Nazis required so many of them and could only offer a single girl. The Russians were content and began their proof of concept. They had artificially created an arm over in Moscow, which was on its way to the orphanage to be grafted on to prove that amputation and replacement could work. In the meantime, the Russians had to prepare for this. The girl's right arm was amputated. Mysteriously, shortly after the Russian scientists packed up their equipment and left, the replacement arm never came, and the girl was left with a bandage strapped over her kimono perpetually. The Russians were said to have left with a fearful haste, as if suddenly the air had turned too cold for their tastes. One child out of the whole orphanage did not approve of the scientists' presence. In her acts of rebellion, she stole paperwork and ripped it to shreds, broke glassware, and wrecked surgery theaters. Despite her young age of being 8 years old and size, she had a surprising capacity for destruction. It was noted in a journal that she was heterochromic as well, brown and blue eyes from left to right. The senior scientists despised her, but could not restrain her without arousing suspicion. Instead, they ordered the Nazi soldiers to take care of her. She was brutally beheaded with a blunt bayonet. She was not buried, just left in the woods behind the orphanage. The soldiers told the caretakers that she had found a new family. The Nazi scientists attempted to play around with their successful experiments by trying different aspects to it. Sadly, none of them worked. Here is a list of them. Entry through the forehead performed on a 10-year-old boy. Skull was deformed, and the boy had been virtually lobotomized by the end of it. However, he wasn't vegetative as a result, although he was mentally retarded due to the experiment. Entry through the lower jaw performed on a 6-year-old girl. The tongue and most of the flesh on the lower jaw was removed and could not be replaced. Hold on, guys.
Jesus, come on, Wes. I'm really interested in this. Come on, fix it and let's go.
All right, sorry about that. Anyway, starting off where I left before, entry through the lower jaw performed on a 6-year-old girl. The tongue and most of the flesh on the lower jaw was removed and could not be replaced. The subject's sinuses were also scrambled. Entries through the side of the head. Subject was reluctantly half deaf. It should also be noted that there was no anesthetic during the surgery, and the screams were truly mortifying, as most journals read. Despite the failure of these, the kill switches were still removed, and the subjects acted in much the same way as the first girl, expiring upon sleep. However, they were reduced to a mere 10 people due to all the previous failures. This is including the caretakers, and they had performed surgery on all the children. The doctors began to formulate ideas that in a child, a kill switch isn't already activated, but in an adult, a kill switch could be reversed using a chemical compound to eliminate the hormone produced and the kill switch then removed. This was performed on all the caretakers and was surprisingly successful, as they all survived. During the experiments, scientists were told to watch over the successful children and monitor their behavior. This part gets freaky. They appear normal at first, just like any of the other children, playing, cheering, learning normally, but when separated from the others, they seem off. They stroll carelessly around with a blank smile on their face, their eyes looking straight at you. If approached from behind, their heads snap around with ungodly speed, and for a moment, you can almost see an expression so vile on their face that it makes you want to cower. But then you realize they are just forming a dreamy smile again. Another thing is that they follow us, but only when we are on our own. After finishing on my typewriter and heading to my room, I am often given a fright by one of the children standing several meters down the dark hallway, staring at me. When I go off to my room, she follows me, and I shut my door, jam a chair behind it, and then I sleep safely. It feels like they're ghosts at night time. And the funny thing is, I keep seeing one child with reddish hair. I keep asking who the child is the next morning, but the caretakers say they have never had a child with reddish hair for a while. They also seem to be playing a game a lot more than when we started. I haven't got much knowledge of Japanese, but it seems the game is called Circle U, as described by one of the translators. A group of children surround one child who sits in the center alone. They link arms and begin to move in a circular manner around the child, making scary faces at them and singing an eerie chant. If you lose, you lose if you flinch. Upon talking to them, I've noticed they seem more dreamy, forgetful, and somewhat blank, as if the experiments wiped their memories as well. But it's not an innocent type of dreamy, rather something more sinister. They stare at you with wide eyes and ask you questions never thought they would know. One asked, when your grandmother died, did she really leave you a gold-plated watch? It may seem crazy, but my honest answer was yes. Kagome Kagome means circle you, circle circle. The game translates to circle you, circle you. The child who rebelled against the scientist had reddish hair. In early 1945, Hiroshima is bombed. Germany forfeits and the experiments are grounded to a halt. The Germans begin packing up their equipment and most of them have already returned home due to their mental welfare, stating that they only showed signs of insanity. Only 4 scientists remained. After sending the last sets of equipment off, the scientists deemed it only justified that they inform the caretakers that they were leaving, and they did so. And to the horror of one of the scientists and the surprise of the rest, the head caretaker said, in fluent German, "Will you play one last game with us?" The 3 scientists agreed, and a circle of children and caretakers formed around them. Now, if you flinch, you lose. The one horrified scientist ran to the last truck and jumped on it without looking back. Story now is, if you go to Hiroshima, go around the woods and you may find some dirt trails there. If you travel down them, you will see beautiful forests. But if you travel down one that has had signs of trucks going through, you will feel cold, and you will see a lot of trees that are cut down. But don't wander from the path, or you'll likely get lost in those vast woods. If you pay attention, you will notice that the tree stumps look like kneeling people missing heads. If you continue, the air will get cold. Naturally, because you're climbing uphill, right? Of course. Eventually, you will reach a clearing with an old stone building in the center, vines covering the place. Go inside if you want to play. As soon as you open the door, a foul smell will come out, similar to that of a rotting corpse. If you look down the hall, it will be dark regardless of the time of day, since there are no lights. Continue down the hall, take the first left, and then go down that hall until you see one door that appears to be made out of a red-colored wood, the rest being brown. Open the door, and you will find 10 happy children and caretakers, all wearing kimonos, playing in a normal playroom. One is missing her arm, another is missing his forehead, and the third lacks a jaw, but all are bandaged with clinical precision. The place should be very clean and tidy, dependent on your standard of such things, and well lit. At once, your presence will draw the attention of everyone in the room, including the ones that look far too preoccupied or distracted. They will turn to look at you, carefree smiles from each of their pleasant faces. The head caretaker, in all her beauty, will ask, "Will you come play with us?" By this time, if you haven't soiled your pants, you really should, to save you the trouble later. If you say no, the door will slam shut on you, and if you try to go down the hallways out the exit, you will only find another hallway. Open any of the brown doors and you should find operating tables or bunk beds. If you continue down the third hallway, you will realize that a girl is standing several meters behind you, her face shrouded by shadow. Approach it and expect your doom. Continue down the hallway and try not to let her catch up with you. If you say yes, however, you will be welcomed into the room. The door will close behind you and everyone will form a circle around you. "Now sit down and don't flinch," a cheerful voice will say. "Just follow the instructions and you will survive." All light will disappear from the room, yet you can see the circle of children, each with a vicious expression on their face. One so vile you will probably flinch straight up. If you can stomach that, though, they will begin to move around and around you slowly. You may feel one of them lash towards you. If you look, however, there will be nothing there, besides the children circling normally. If that wasn't enough, they will begin chanting Kagome, Kagome. I really can't explain any further. No one ever lives to tell the tale of what happens then. If you flinch before they chant, they simply continue as normal. If you choose to say maybe to the head caretaker or anything other than yes or no, it is told that the children's expressions will turn mortifying, zalgonic almost, and they will scream in inhuman voices, decide, decide. If you do anything besides say yes or no from here, it is told that the children and caretakers will slam the door on you. If you turn around, the story varies. Supposedly, your worst fear will be waiting at the other end of the hallway, separating you from your exit. Most notably, this character is Akamanto, or the Rake. The least you could do is greet the creature before he tears you unto oblivion. If he has the capacity, he may well respond, and you will die as a polite person. Don't greet him, and you will end up as another one of the beheaded bodies along the trail. If you respond, I don't understand, and you must be genuine, the head caretaker will say, go to your school and watch your children play. You should understand then. Nothing will have changed, and close the door on your way out. It's common courtesy. There's a disclaimer as well. Most creepypastas are fabricated, some derived from psychological stigma, and the others are revamped ghost stories. But there is a small percentage of creepypastas which aren't like this. These are the true creepypastas. And that's not to say that they are a higher class of original pastas which spawned further others. It just means they're real. Germany did send a research team to Japan to experiment immortality via the brain, and they did experiment on children in an orphanage.
Fuck you, Chris.
What happened?
I was listening to you, I was looking down at my phone, I look up and Chris has got this fucking creepy ass smile on it. It's like half my screen. I just looked up and it freaked the fuck out of me.
Oh my god. And it was right when they were talking about the kids too.
Yeah, I looked up and I'm just like, Chris is like, hi, I'm like, Jesus.
The best part is I was staring straight into the camera too.
Yeah, that was oh god, it freaked me out at first. Like, I didn't think it was you at first. Second off, I add that to one of the places I want to go.
I've heard that story before. Wes and I actually heard that when we were in college.
That is not the one I thought you were going to say.
However, Wes, the music ended just as you ended the story, so it was pretty cool.
Sweet.
Excuse me.
Another thing I like about that story is there is actually a Vocaloid song that is linked to that story, and I have it, and it is fucking terrifying.
Do they go Kagome?
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah, it's
and they do it really slow and eerily.
That and the Suicide Woods is a place I want to go to.
Yeah, probably not the Suicide Woods or that place, because I'm not a huge let's go to a place where I might die kind of thing. But
let's not go to a spoopy place. Do we have time for one more?
Oh yeah. Being as that it's our last spooky podcast, I'm gonna let this one run a little bit. We're already over our normal time, but let this one go.
Yeah, well, we're also not recording super late either, so. All right, so I got one. It runs along the lines of the military one, and I'll say the title. If you guys have heard of it, I won't say it. I won't read it. The Russian Sleep Experiment. You've
not heard of it.
You've heard of it, or you have not?
I have not.
I haven't heard
Chris?
of it either.
Okay, looks like we're reading this one. All right, so like I said, this is called the Russian Sleep Experiment. Those, they probably know it. Okay. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so that the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and a 5-inch thin glass porthole-sized window into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried fruit to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained about having been imprisoned, falsely, that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversation took on a darker aspect after the 4th day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphone and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them, or the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was the effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. Researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. Then the screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones out to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound should be coming from the 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption of the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strength and exercise. On the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives. They were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphone. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in the calm voice response: "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed with steaming glass and filled with fresh air. Immediately, voices from the microphones began to eject. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open and soldiers set in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call that any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs, and chunks stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicate that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscle attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh, that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They came to scream to be left in the chamber and ultimately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put on a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped open. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Ouch. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. When heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in the research. He just repeated one word, more, over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, the 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 had been taken to the only surgical operating room that facility had, in the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body. It was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative that had given him to prepare him for surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints. When the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under, he managed to tear most of the way through 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of the 5-star scream. His vocal cords destroyed. He was unable to beg or object to surgery. He only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested reluctantly that they try a surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what had remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting with surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times when his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loud and attempted to talk while struggling, assuming this must be something of drastic importance. The surgeon had a pen and pad fetched the patient could write a message. It was simple: keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for a duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared the system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. We lost Wes. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given: I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back in the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of the project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer and ex-KGB instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being still in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was less that they were going back into the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute sounded restraining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might, first left, then right, then left again, for something to focus on. The main subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal, most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if there was repeatedly suffering brain death. Before returning to normal, that was spooky. Returning to normal as they focused on paper scrolling out the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut. At the same moment, his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time when his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves show that same flatlines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as the 3 researchers. One of them named three immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained in the bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. I won't be locked in here with these things, not with you. He screamed at the man strapped to the table. What are you? He demanded. I must know. The subject smiling. This is spooky. Have you forgotten so easily? Said the subject asks. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be freed at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go into the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. The researchers paused. They aimed the subject's head and fired the EEG flatline as the subject weakly choked out, so nearly free. Hi. Yeah. It was kind of spooky how you were shutting everything off. Yeah, saying the atmosphere scared the fuck out of me. Okay. Yes, that was the Russian sleep experiment. Oh no, say they I mean, I heard you. Leaping. Is Wes back?
I don't know. It's just it shows there's sound coming from his box because it's lit up, but
I don't even have that.
Your video is behind your audio.
Oh, whatever.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, hi Wes.
That's creepy. Anyway,
What?
your
eyes?
No, Wes's face or Nate's face.
Stop that. Stop being creepy.
So, here's a story that I told my sister once when I was a kid. I read it out of a book. It's not that scary, but
Hooray.
anyway, here it is. The girl with the green ribbon around her neck. You've probably heard it before. A long time ago, there lived a girl who had a dark green ribbon tied around her neck. On her first day of school, the boy sitting behind her, whose name was Jim, noticed it from beneath her blonde hair. Why are you wearing that green ribbon? He asked the little girl. She looked around. She looked at the ground. Someday maybe I'll tell you, she said and turned away. A year later, they became best friends, and whilst they were eating lunch, Jim asked again, why do you wear that ribbon? The little girl laughed awkwardly. Maybe I'll tell you another time. When they entered high school, Jim asked the girl out. She soon became his girlfriend. He asked again as they were kissing, now will you tell me why you wear the green ribbon? He pleaded with her. Maybe if we ever get married, I'll tell you, she said, biting her lip. Jim fell in love with the girl. 10 years later, he proposed, and they got married. In bed, their first night, the only thing his new wife couldn't take off was her green ribbon. Please, tell me why you wear that ribbon, Jim begged. If we ever have kids, I'll tell you, she replied, averting her gaze. 2 children later, a boy and a girl, and then Jim asked again, now will you please, please, please tell me why you wear that green ribbon? His wife sighed and answered, look, if you really love me, please, just drop it. One day, I promise, I will tell you why. So Jim dropped it.
Spooky, scary, spooky, scary.
Even though he was dying to know, he just accepted the fact that his wife always wore a green ribbon around her neck. They grew old together, and the woman became very sick. The doctor told Jim she was going to die soon. Jim sat by her side for days, distraught. And then he finally said, "Please, tell me now. Why do you always wear that ribbon around your neck?" Croaky voice, his wife replied. "Okay. Take it off now." Jim reached for the ribbon with fumbling fingers. He pulled the bow loose. Her head fell off.
See, it's all fine and dandy, and it's all, oh god,
Kind of spooky and stuff. The cat just ripped my headset out and freaked me out. It's all fine and dandy, but if she was like headless and didn't have a, was kind of undead as is, how the fuck she have kids?
How the fuck did she grow up?
Plot holes, man. Plot holes.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't know,
kid. It
they
was a
just
kid's
tied that
story.
plot hole
Okay,
closed.
I read it in
Yeah.
a kid's book, so it's a kid's story.
Okay,
I mean,
it's like the head fell off. Ah!
yeah.
All right, I got one more, and
I
then
can just imagine them like doing it to have kids, and then he unties the ribbon with accident. and her head
accidentally
falls
just
right
hit
off. He's like grabbing for some, and then her head just
That wasn't the kind of head he was hoping for.
nope.
All right, I got one
Excuse
more, and
me.
I did you fart? Is that what that was? Dear God, man.
Yep.
The Russian sleep experiments on this site too. The same
Excuse me.
site.
Okay. I've got one that's called the 1983 Sensory Deprivation God Experiment.
Christ, that's a-
It is a long name, but it's not that long. I think read it, and then this will be the last one.
Let me see how long this one I just found is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Go ahead and do yours. This one will.
all right. This is from skepticforum.com is where I found this one. I just read of a rather disturbing experiment that I felt had the ring of BS to it. Here's the article. Excuse me. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. Scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or way to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. They believed that the five senses clouded an awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connected to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject remained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud with his state of mind in jumbled slur sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him, and even more, he could communicate back. Scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of the scientists left the study. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subjects became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. And every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded with hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elate the pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. The tactics worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed by the scientists, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. Scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him on a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head up and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with a scientist for the first time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." And his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. Now, it's not that I doubt that some secret agency would or could do something like that. It just seems by 1983 they would have been aware of the use of sensory deprivation tanks and been able to achieve the same results without the permanent surgery. Furthermore, the story gives no details on who, what, when, or where this experiment was done. So to me, it sounds like another urban legend that fundamentalist preachers could spout from their pulpit in an altar called time. Anyone got any info on this, such as where the story might have even originated from? Yeah. See, I find the ones where it's like secret facility doing experiments, the ones that are the creepiest, because it's like it's I don't want to say it's far off, but it's possible.
What you see in your window there, buddy?
Shut up.
No Tony the Tiger this weekend?
No Tony the Tiger this weekend.
You're dead.
Okay.
What if it was Tony the Tiger wearing a clown mask?
I
Like
find
one of
that
them murderous
I'd actually
clowns.
find that kind of funny.
Have you heard of a?
How's my PBR?
It's actually my PBR.
No, that was the case I had.
Well, I left mine here too. Apparently,
I have milk, so
I've got Gatorade.
2% reduced fat milk.
Okay.
No,
So
in reference to the Tony the Tiger thing, have you ever heard of a 200-pound man screaming like a 15-year-old girl? Because trust me, you will.
Awesome.
The red glow behind my head makes this so much cooler.
Just read the
Must
damn
be from
story and
hell.
stop trying to be creepy. Okay, that's weird. It was really creepy until you looked down. You just broke the illusion.
I know. I had to see it for myself. Anyway. All right. Wes, do you have anything else before I read this last story?
No. Circle U is pretty much the big one I had. I couldn't find anything other than that.
I just searched shit while other people were talking. That's not even creepy. That's
Hey,
just...
quit being
That's
stupid.
like fucking Yes Man when he puts tape all over his face.
First off, that
Oh my
wasn't.
God.
Was that Yes Man?
Yes, it was.
I thought that was Liar
That
Liar.
movie is fucking
Nope,
great.
that's Yes Man.
Okay.
Get
We
your
both
Jim,
had Jim.
Sorry.
What
get your
was
Jim
that?
Carrey shit straight.
I'm sorry.
All right, here we go.
Excuse me.
A little bit of ambi here. Not that anybody else can see it.
A little bit of
Sorry.
ambience. Huh?
Ambiance.
Now it's too dark. Now you can't even see me. There we go.
I can see your
All right, go.
bug.
Read.
This one's called The Smiling Man.
Oh, not this one.
About
You
5
think
years
that's
ago.
creepy? You should read Smile Dog.
Shut the fuck up! I'm telling a story.
Fine.
About 5 years ago, I lived downtown city. Always been. Find myself bored after roommate. Sadly, not a night, but pass the time. Walks and spend the time thinking.
Jesus Christ.
I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate, that even the drug dealer, like, all of that shit. In just a few minutes, one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning. I was walking near a police station. Shut the fuck up!
Sorry, my sinuses are acting up.
God damn it, Mite your mute. Yep, Mite your mute. Mute your mic. we have lost all sense of fucking spooky now.
I did spook Nate the first time.
Nate, you're muted.
All right, I didn't realize I was muted. Wes ruined the atmosphere. We're done. Podcast over. Oh, we're out of here.
Okay, we're gonna try this again.
Take 2. Spookiness, take
And
2.
my mic
And
is
action.
mute.
Everybody mute. Okay, we good? Give me a thumbs up, Nate. Okay, cool. And Wes, I heard mute, so. Okay. As I was walking near... And I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, and very little traffic. Almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my when I first noticed him, far into the street. On my side was the silhouette of a dancing. Strange dance, similar to a waltz. But he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass by me. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, wearing an old suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were wide open and wild. Head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him. Crossed the empty street. As I reached the other side, I clicked back. Stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking soured. No wide lips. Completely unnerved by it. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on him. He didn't move. I had put about half a block between us. I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to see where he had been, standing, to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt until I noticed across the street. And now was slightly crouched down. I could tell for sure, due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time staring at him. Then he stared toward me. He took giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps, as if he were a cartoon character. Except he was moving very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all. I didn't. I stood there completely frozen as the smiling man crept toward me, and then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to say was, "What the hell do you want?" Instead, I managed to whimper, "What the hell?" Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice. And that only made me afraid. But he didn't. And then, what felt like forever, just like that, turned my back to him, watched him go, until he was far enough away to be almost out of sight. Then I realized something. He wasn't moving away. I watched in horror at the distant shape of him. Larger. He was coming back my way. And this time, he was running. I ran too. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night. Never went out for another walk. Something about his face that always haunted me. He looked drunk, high, he looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing. That's it.
Yay, I need new pants.
No.
Just fucking straight no. What was it called? Smiling Man?
The
or
Smiling
Smiles?
Man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah, man.
He looks like Jared Leto's Joker.
I know. I will
Fine.
send me that. I will put it in the video version.
I just typed in Smiling Man.
There's a
Well, that could
couple.
have been any man.
There's a couple more on this site, but we are probably. Let me see how far we are, because if we can go. You know, we're gonna make this a double episode to make up for the fact that we didn't have an episode last week,
Double
means-
episode.
which means
Oh.
we still have 25 minutes.
Okay. I just kind of shat my pants on that last one, so.
Yeah.
It's all over the
Let me
place.
try and find something.
This next one, I have a whole list of these.
All my fault.
That's all your fault.
Jerk.
Oh my god. I'm sending that
dick
Nate,
butt.
you can read this one.
Do you want me to read this one?
Yeah, I'll
All
read. I'll let you read this one. The name alone.
What's the
I'm-
name of it?
It's on the same site that I just read The Smiling Man from.
You sure this is a horror story? 'Cause it doesn't seem like a horror story.
What's it fucking called?
Normal porn for normalpeople.com.
Oh dear God.
This is not a horror story you sent me, is it? This is an erotica, isn't it?
I don't know. I
I'm
don't
gonna-
know.
I'm gonna get scared and I'm gonna have a boner. Way to go, Chris. All right.
Both at the same time.
It's a fear boner. Get so scared, badoing. Helps break the wind when you run. They get a little too close, just whap them across the head with it.
Oh my god.
All right, I'm done. All right, let's see here. Okay. So yeah, like I said, the thing that Chris sent me is normal porn for normalpeople.com. Everybody knows that if you surf the web long enough, you'll see some pretty sick stuff. I've seen quite a few things I don't care to admit, but one thing that I've always remembered is a site called normal porn for normalpeople.com. First off, we're gonna stop right there. I kind of want to check it out, but then again, I don't.
On it.
And Chris is on it. If you die, I'm sorry. Where'd Chris go?
I started
That's-
typing it and it came up right away. I'm not even joking.
That fear boner. Anyway, so the first strange thing about this site was that I didn't find it by actually looking for it. It was emailed me by someone I didn't know. The email was as follows: "Hi there. Found the site and it's very nice though. You might like it. Normal porn for normalpeople.com. Pass it on. It's for the good of mankind." British Standard issue chain letter, although the URL and the last remark really perked my curiosity. I was having a very boring day when I got this, so I made sure my antivirus was working, and then I clicked on it. It was very average, very generic looking site. It gave the impression that the creators were just barely gave a shit about making it professional. The site had strange taglines, which was "Normal porn for normal people, a website dedicated to the eradication of abnormal sexuality." I was very, very curious to see what normal people got their rocks off to. So I scrolled down through the rant and Nothing. The page didn't seem to link to anywhere else, and I was about to leave when I noticed every word of the rant was its own hyperlink. So I clicked on one of them and was sent to a white page with a very long list of links in the form of normalpornfornormalpeople.com/random letters. I figured I'd just try it for maybe 5 minutes just to see if anything came up. I clicked on one of the links and was sent to another page. This page probably had totally different URLs than the last one. A video download came up. It was called peanut.avi. It was a 30-minute video of a man, a woman, and a dog in a kitchen. Ugh. I don't like where this is going. The woman would make a peanut butter sandwich. The man would set it down for the dog to eat. That was all that happened for 30 minutes. It was obvious that the cameraman had to stop filming and wait until the dog was ready to eat again. The dog seemed rather sick by the end of it. I knew what you're thinking. What the hell does that video have to do with porn? I have no clue. I've seen a little over 24 videos from this site, and the majority had no sexual activity at all. Most of those 24 videos were very uneventful and consisted of people talking to the cameraman in a room with nothing in it but a desk and a few chairs. I mean, literally nothing on the walls or terms of furniture. The whole room had a very cold, sterile feel to it. Conversations were just idle banter about previous jobs or embarrassing childhood moments. You would never know these videos had anything to do with porn if you saw it out of context. I will say one thing though: the people who appeared in the videos were quite attractive. However, the other videos that actually did feature content, which I suppose could be called sexual, is where things got weird. I'll give brief descriptions of the stranger videos if you're really eaten up with curiosity. You can try to hunt them down on a torrent site, lickedclean.avi. How about nobody? A 10-minute video filmed by a hidden camera in which you see a repairman working on a washing machine for the first 2 minutes. When it's fixed, the repairman talks to the owner briefly and then leaves. The owner checks to make sure the repairman is gone and begins to lick all over the top of the washing machine. This goes on for 7 minutes. Jimbo.avi. A 5-minute video of an obese mime performing his act. It was actually pretty funny, particularly one part where he pretends to pull up a chair, then pretends it breaks because of his weight. In the last 30 seconds of the video, the camera cuts to static briefly and cuts back to the man sobbing quietly, still wearing mime outfit and makeup. Some kind of obscure fetish? Diana.avi. 4-minute video in which the cameraman talks to a woman in a room different from the interview room. This room looks like one you'd find in a normal person's house. Diana only talks about her violin playing. She obviously plays her violin, but keeps getting distracted by something. I didn't notice this until almost the end of the video, but if you look at the mirror in the background, you can see a fat man in a chicken mask masturbating. Jessica.avi. Another 4-minute cameraman video. This time he's outside a house talking to another young woman. They talk about canoe rides. The cameraman zooms out to view the city streets behind them occasionally. The strange thing is, no one so far has been able to identify where the street is. Guess I've ranged everyone from Europe to Australia to the Philippines, but there's yet to be a match for the street shown in the video. Kind of weird. Tonguetie.avi. 10-minute video. The first 5 minutes consists of an elderly woman making out with a mannequin. The video cuts out halfway, though, and the scene is now a group of mannequins held together in a circle around the cameraman. The lights have been dimmed, and the other woman is nowhere to be seen. From this point on, there's no sound. Okay. Stumps.avi. Why? Why is this a thing? 5-minute long video where a man with no legs is attempting to break dance on a mat in what looks like a kitchen from peanut.avi. But much dirtier. There's a radio playing music unseen in the background, but it stops at the 4-minute mark where the man collapses on the mat in exhaustion. He breathes heavily and pleads with someone off screen to let him rest. This off-screen person becomes terrified and enraged and yells at him to keep dancing, which he does. You can hear this off-screen person begin to scream at the video as the video ends abruptly. That's strange. Privacy.avi. The woman from Diana AVI is masturbating on the mattress to an interview room, while the man from Stumps AVI walks around on his hands while wearing some kind of goblin mask. The door in this room was always closed in interviews, but now it's open in this video. The only light in this room and the hallway is dark. Near the end of the video, you can see an animal quickly run through the hallway, and finally, the last and most disturbing view I uncovered. What the fuck? Useless.avi. In this 18-minute video, a blonde woman woman from one of the previous interview videos is tied down to a mattress in the interview room. She attempts to scream, but her mouth is taped over. After 7 minutes, a man in a black suit and mask opens the door, but he does not enter. He holds the door open for the animal that was right in the hall in the previous video, and it's revealed to be an adult chimpanzee. Its hair shaved and its entire body painted red. It seemed to be starved and abused with several wounds along its shoulder and back. When the chimpanzee is in the room, the masked man closes the door behind it. The chimpanzee sniffs the air for a moment. He may have been blind. Notices the woman tied in the mattress, goes in friendly, and begins to maul her. These assaults go on for a grueling 7 minutes until the woman finally dies. The chimp eats flesh from her corpse for 4 minutes, and the video ends. What the fuck?
Not at all what you thought it would be. Also, the actual site, it's obviously a site that was made after the story because, the videos that are on the site are not.
Well, yeah, because the one you can't really do without being criminally charged.
Yeah, I'm aware, but, like, sorry to break the spoopy, but it's just a...
Doesn't make it any less fucked up. Because, dude, with the internet, you never know. with websites, you never
That
truly
is completely
know.
true because websites can be changed over time. And Wes, have you found anything in the last few minutes? I expect you to at least be looking anyway.
I think Wes died.
I think he muted himself again.
And he forgot. Wesley. Wes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you, Wesley.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Did you mute yourself? What is attached to my foot? Okay, no, it's my. Yes, my cat.
Meow.
No. Come on, get out of here, Skype video.
So did you find anything, Wes? Or we?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Oh, come on,
My
man.
phone's being...
Doesn't your laptop work in the... Oh, wait, no.
No,
I
wait,
don't have
no.
internet.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, so I'm gonna edit this part out and mute.
Sweet.
Yes.
I will.
Do that. All right. How much more time we have?
Oh, let me see here. About 15 minutes.
I think I might have found one. I just gotta let it load.
I know that story. Everything's running slow because I'm recording and on Skype at the same time. Plus, I think the video
Yep.
is what's affecting most of it, but it's not that big of a deal. I just pulled my earbud out from between my legs because that's where it happened to land. And that's really spooky if you think
Fuck
about
you, advertisement.
Hey, Chris.
it. Is that a bunch of
Okay.
people hitting Negan with
Milk cannot
wiffle
quench my
ball
hatred
bats?
for advertisements.
Yes, it is.
He deserves it.
It's the cast of Walking Dead.
Oh, okay, I see it now. It's hard to tell right away, but I see it. Speaking of, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you saw the season premiere, let us know what you thought about that. Because my family was kind of disturbed by how, I'll say, over-the-top gruesome it was.
It's okay. Here's the thing. It's apocalyptic zombies. Okay.
Yeah.
It's based off a comic book that is extremely gory. They actually cut out a lot of the gore factor in previous seasons, as well as upped it a bit in some episodes. But that scene in general could have been way worse. I mean, it could have been really, really, really brutal, and it doesn't. I mean, it's a show for adults, So if like it's rated MA, so if there's like 10-year-old kids going, "Oh my god," it's not the producer's fault. It's the parents for letting them watch it. But the fact of the matter is, it could have been way worse. And I think it was. I don't think it was. I don't think it was gory enough because it, with that scene in particular, especially in the comic books, it's supposed to be a really freaking intense scene.
Yeah, I actually had to look away myself because I'm not too great with the
Oh,
gore.
we lost Wes again.
I see that. He'll come back. We can talk about this because he doesn't really
Yeah.
watch anyway. I had to look
Spoiler
away.
alert.
I had to look away because
Oh, he's
at the
back.
part where he's just pummeling away because I couldn't deal with it.
It's something that would happen in an apocalyptic setting. Any particular reason why, Wes, your face is half off the thing and you look like a weird pedophile?
Shut up.
Jesus Christ.
So
You're a dick.
no, this is a dick, and I stand up and
No, we're not doing that.
Why? Nobody
so
nobody else will see it.
Fuck.
who just yelled fucking why?
Wes, and I don't know
Oh,
why.
it's everywhere.
It's just
There's white fluidy stuff everywhere.
And we're
Yeah.
done. See you next week, everybody.
Yep, see it. This podcast is over. We're done here. Have a good one. Stay safe this Halloween. And for everyone that's dressing up as Harley Quinn, rock on. For all you dressing up as the Jared Leto's Joker, rock on. For all you dressing up as anything else, rock on. We're out of here. Bye-bye.